Hello and welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast, where we explore what it is to be a healthy spiritual man today. I'm Eamon. It's great to have you with us. Welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast. I'm Eamon. Today we are here with Jeff Ryan. Jeff, thanks for being with us today.
Great to be with you.
Great to have you here talking about visioning. And before we get into that, let me just share a little bit of your history for those who may not know you. So Jeff Ryan chaired the Centers for Spiritual Living visioning team from 2020 to 2023. For him, visioning is much more than an occasional spiritual tool to use to gain clarity or guidance about a project or path forward. It is a way of life. He is committed to sharing this transformative process with as many people as possible. He regularly facilitates visioning sessions and workshops within the Centers for Spiritual Living and New Thought, as well as for secular, interfaith, and business organizations. Jeff is the recipient of the 2022 CSL Meritus Minister Award for his exemplary leadership and service to the CSL organization, and is an ordained CSL minister. He holds a master's degree in consciousness study from the Holmes Institute. He's a senior minister and spiritual director of Riverside CSL in Riverside, California. You can find them at riversidecsl.org. And Jeff, thank you for being here. It's great to see you again. It's been a while since you did our visioning for the New Thought Men's community. So it's great to have you here and be able to speak on this powerful tool that Michael Beckwith originally put forth in our community. And so to be able to take this, and it's evolved and changed and kind of adapted for different situations and different experiences, I think, since he originally came up with it. And maybe let's just start at the beginning. Like, tell us just maybe a little brief overview. What is visioning?
Great. Well, it's great to be here, Eamon. I'm really honored to be with you, and it's great to see you again, too. Visioning is really a process and a practice that taps into our inner wisdom, which is inseparable from our universal consciousness, if you will. And it grants us access to greater possibilities for our lives than our human minds can even conceive of by themselves. So it is really about personal transformation. That's what, Michael Beckwith has talked about, that it's really about personal transformation. Rather than trying to make something happen or manifest something, what it is it's really about moving into the next level of consciousness, the next stage of spiritual development or conscious development that is really into that co-creator, where we are working with the universe to co-create rather than being in that space of, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, or, I manifest this, or I demonstrate that, or, that you hear sometimes like, I demonstrated a new car, I manifested a new house, I, manifested this relationship. It's beyond that. So it's beyond the law of attraction. And it's more about attuning to and aligning with that which the universe, that universal consciousness, that's with that love intelligence is wanting to create and express through us, rather than what we of our own limited minds and thinking are wanting to create for ourselves.
So less about visualization and more about what is, less of my will, less of like kind of affirming, and which is all great stuff. But this is more about instead of like this, I see it more like this, like receiving, like opening to our higher intelligence, allowing that greater awareness or greater possibility for our life from the soul level, or from the deeper part of who we are, versus from the more willful part of like, this is what I want to do. And choice, which is beautiful and powerful when we choose, but also in the opening, we are choosing and saying, yes, I'm choosing to be open to the greater good, or my greater good, or the higher good for myself, my loved ones, my community, the world. Beautiful.
I'm choosing to be in alignment with it. That's where the choice, I'm choosing to align myself with that higher idea, with that, my higher intelligence, my inner wisdom, whatever you want to call it, that we're actually choosing to align and we're choosing to co-create. So there's choice, there's still agency, but it is not, as you said, the willful, like, I will. It's my will that's creating. So, Ernest Holmes said, there's a power for good in the universe and I can use it. And visioning is more about the position of there's a power for good in the universe and it uses me. And it's not about surrendering or giving up or being a channel, it is kind of channel consciousness, but not channeling the way Abraham Hicks has channeled information, right? It's not that kind of channeling. It is coming into alignment with a higher idea, with higher wisdom, with greater possibility, and bringing ourselves and choosing to be in alignment with it, and making our choices and making our decisions, taking our actions that bring us more into alignment with, that serve the vision rather than sabotage the vision.
Yes. Kind of that, visioning is about personal transformation and personal inquiry to that inner wisdom, which we are all about here at the New Thought Men's community. We do that inner work to then change the outer world, as opposed to try and change the outer world to make ourselves feel better about what's going on within us. So talk more about that.
Yeah. So backing up to a little bit with visualization, and then we can get into this because they kind of go hand in hand to really show the distinction between that. So visualization is really about it's about imagining something we want to experience, and then imagining it so concretely. Oh, I want the red car. I want it to be fuel efficient. I want it to be snazzy. I want and to like really dive into the minutia, and then trying to attract it to us. Right? That's what visioning visualization is all about, trying to use the law of attraction to attract it to us, because I'm visualizing it. I see it. I imagine it. I imagine what it'll feel like driving the car. I am imagining all of these things, visualizing it, putting up my vision boards, the traditional vision boards that I'm consciously creating. It's very much the secret, the teaching of the secret of trying to create, trying to manifest, but it's inherently limited by what you can think of. Right? It's inherently limited by what you think is possible. So not only is it inherently limited by what you can think of, but it's also inherently limited by what you think is possible. If you don't think the red car is possible, if you don't think the abundance is possible, if you don't really believe that it is, if you really don't think that it is, it doesn't happen. Right? Yeah. So it is that law of attraction piece that, so that is visualization. And visualization is really important in building your faith, building your trust that there is an order to the universe that you can work with, that there is, if you do X, then, it's cause and effect, right? If you do X, Y will happen. And so that builds the trust, that builds the faith. So it's a really important step. It's a really important tool, but it is inherently limited. Even Ernest Holmes says that it's good to the point that It is, but there is so much more. And you can find that in the back of the Science of Mind text in the glossary under visualization. He talks all about it.
Be open
But
at the top.
yeah, be open at the top. Exactly. Whereas visioning, it's opening to a higher idea. And so, there's probably a greater idea than your red fuel efficient sports car, right? There's a greater idea that's available for you. The red fuel efficient sports car might come along during it or part of it, but it's not the focus of it. It's not the mental rehearsing and the visualizing of it. The real work of visioning, that personal transformation that happens in visioning, yes, that first question, highest vision for my life, what is the highest idea for my life, is important. But the real meat, alignment questions, and those alignment questions, what must I release, embrace, and meat is, because the information that we receive there is really telling vision how to attune to the vision. And so that is where the meat, release fear. Fear of what? Fear that I'm not good enough. Embrace forgiveness. What do I need to embody? I need to embody peace. I need to embody joy. I need to the power and the presence of joy in the world. How must or what must I become? I to become the person that experiences peace and joy and heart. The conscious man that I am. I'm being invited to become more of that. I'm being invited to demonstrate that. Those are those questions. That's where the meat really is. Those questions, then we begin to see to alignment, how we're being called to into attunement with or the vision of whatever it is that we're visioning for. But that's really where the bulk of the meat is. That's
nice. And yeah, that I guess that brings us to the of what is the process. And so as you just but we can just go over it real quick, and we get into this and we're open, and then we ask these 6 questions. What is your highest vision? What must I embrace? What must I embody? What must I become? And then number, to take your time and go through that process, whether it's in a group, whether you're visioning for your own life or for like what we did with any implications. And it feels like, to me, that's the place to start. Like, to engage the brain or get creative with it or what's this, but to be open to that greater possibility you're doing, to be receptive to that higher vision, that mind. This thing is so limited in so many capacities of the cosmos, that is literally in creation experience with all of its creation, all of its expression. So I think this first is such a powerful thing before you get into the mind part of it. And that's what we did with you, and how we kind of took it in. Yeah, what is this? I have a great vision of what it should be, but what is this larger? half a dozen or so other people in the visioning process, and
Mhm.
and it's been a beautiful unfolding of that. More about kind of just that, the questions, the kind of the when, and those next steps in the process of, if you're doing something, and how do you integrate it into that process of, taking it from this higher, greater vision into practicality and in real life.
Like ethereal, like I mentioned, like Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy came through, and I was like, what in the world does that mean? What does that have to do with anything, right?
Why are the Muppets in my visioning?
Like, can be kind of out there for some, right? So that I use and that I've developed and been developing is a process of discernment. And that process is really about, again, the work of the visioning, the questions that are there, those questions of alignment. The process of visioning itself is, as you mentioned, sitting in the silence by yourself or, in community with another, centering in oneness, anchoring in love, and then asking those questions of what is the highest idea? What must be released? What must be embraced? What must be embodied? What must we become? And is there anything else? Those middle questions, the first question and the last question, are always pretty much the same. They're anchor points. The questions in between are fluid. You can ask them not in that order. You can switch up the order. It doesn't matter. You can change the phrasing on it a little bit. But the idea is to keep them open and the rough idea of the sentiment of those questions, right? And then we commit to the vision, and then we usually anchor it with affirmative prayer of some sort. And it's not about praying that the vision happens. It's more about affirming our own transformation and the transformation of our group. It's about affirming the transformation and being willing to evolve, being willing to change, being willing to grow, being willing to come into alignment with the transformation, but with the vision, with the idea that is wanting to be expressed through either the individual or New Thought Men's Community, right? So it was what's wanting to come through this community. So we're catching community of, so for like the men's ministry here, the men's group, about growth, about touching lives, about that these ideas, right, are coming through. They might be some ideas that are in alignment, but seeing points of light, seeing interconnected ways of being in community came through the visioning. What must old ways of being, old ways of thinking, old ways of interacting? What must we embrace, right? What must we embrace was a new paradigm, a new definition of what it means to be a man in the world, what it means to be a man, particularly in North America or in the Western civilization, what it means to be who we are and how we show up, right? And so those questions then help to inform. By doing discernment, we take the ideas that are wanting to come, that are coming through those alignment questions, and then we become curious about those. We become curious about what information has come through, right? And we ask a series of what questions rather than how questions. And so the basic discernment process, we go back into centering in oneness, we anchor in that love intelligence, and then we ask open-ended questions that are more narrowly defined than the visioning questions, and that are still what questions, not why questions, not how questions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, for example, releasing the old paradigm. What we might get curious about is what ways are what about the old paradigm stands in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not asking this of the community, you're not asking this of anything external. Once again, you're tapping into that wisdom, inner wisdom, and you're asking, what about the old paradigm is in the way? Because there might be some good parts of the paradigm, right? So what about the old paradigms in the way? In what ways has the old paradigm caused damage?
Mm-hmm.
What gifts are present in the old paradigm?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that it's a deeper dive into the question, into what's been revealed. Okay, we have to release the old paradigm. Great. And then you're by simply asking these kinds of questions, and they're intuitive questions, but they're open-ended. They're what questions that are more narrowly focused, so that you can actually begin to discern, and spirit or your inner wisdom, your higher intelligence, whatever it is providing the answers for you, through you, to you, rather than Eamon sitting down going, all right, so what's good about the old paradigm? What works? What didn't work? What do I need to do differently?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than jumping into the mental mind of trying to figure something out, the answers are coming from a deeper space, that cosmic consciousness, right? And you're being guided in that direction. And then based on that, then you can begin to discern, okay, so what action can I take here that is in alignment with, that serves me or us as a community releasing the old paradigm?
I love that. And what it brings up for me is exactly that, exploring the old paradigm of masculinity. And I think what a beautiful thing, especially right now when we see transformation happening societally and even somewhat globally, this evolution of what does masculinity look like? What are we here for? And recognizing those old paradigms from whatever the 30s, 50s, 80s even, what are we really moving into now as an individual, and a way of doing that individual work for the health of the collective, for the health of that collective consciousness. To grow our own consciousness grows that collective consciousness. So what a beautiful way to engage the healing process for us as individuals, but also do the larger work at the same time to some extent through us. Beautiful. I love that.
And when you're working in community like this, so for example, in the New Thought Men's community, and you're asking these questions, and this is what's come through, is to release old paradigms, then it's not just you, Eamon, doing it. It is everybody envisioning, or everybody who's visioned with you now doing the personal work, right? So one of the questions would also then be, where am I still participating in the old paradigm?
Yeah.
Where does the old paradigm still live in me?
Yeah.
That I'm not aware of.
Yeah. Those unconscious biases.
Right. So it's a deeper dive that then roots it out. And once it becomes conscious, then you have the choice. Then you can make the conscious choice to do something different, to take action. And so that is where the real transformation happens. But it really happens, and this is why I've been so advocating and bringing forth this new level of exploration with the discernment, Because what was happening before is, okay, we vision, we get all this information. Now what?
Yeah.
Right. Now what do I do? I was like, okay, I can take bits and pieces that make sense now, but what do I do now? Right. And so this is my answer to we visioned. Now what?
Now what? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Without getting into, all right, strategic plan. We got to make the plan. We're going to project manage it. We're going to because that's not what visioning is about. It's about the transformation.
Right. And the clearer that we're able to discern the vision and do our personal work, the clearer the next steps take, the clearer that, oh, of course we would do this. We would support this. We would act here, or we would, just instead of, the strategic planning part of it is organically going to happen after we start doing this inner work. It's just going to show up. Oh, hey, we have to support young men because they're really struggling right now, and supporting them in what does healthy masculinity look like. How I grew up is way different than how some of these young men are growing up, just with different experiences and different challenges. So I love that. And I love that's kind of how we can use this in men's work and in men's groups to be able to do different visionings in different ways, both for ourselves, for our small group, and in a larger context as well. So I just really love that.
The beauty of doing that too is that there is what I love about visioning in a group is that it quickly shows you that there is a cosmic consciousness, there is a universal consciousness, there is a love intelligence that is absolutely there in the center of each one of us. Because without a doubt, when you sit and vision together, it's like, wait, you got that too? Wait, you got points of light? I also got points of light. I got a variation of points of light. Or you got an elevator and I got stairs, and you got an escalator, and wow, all this rising up, all this moving together, it really begins to show a cohesion, and it really brings groups together in a very intimate way and a very powerful way. And that that practice itself of visioning in a group is a real demonstration of the power and the presence of universal consciousness and what's wanting to be expressed. Because it's not my idea or your idea or somebody else's idea. It's not an agenda being brought to the table. It is, wow, something even like mind-blowing.
Yeah. The genius, it evokes that brilliance or that genius that goes far beyond what my own brain could have come up with, my own consciousness could have come up with. That I definitely love it and have done it for many, many years through men's work at Mile High Church and just so many other things. And so it's great that we have that in this New Thought men's community. And it is one of our foundational tools. Yes. It really is. Yes. It's like you said, you can do it weekly, probably not more than once or twice a week. But weekly if you wanted to, or, any time up to a month. And if you even just practice it once a month, that's 12 times a year, just to really delve deep into that. And maybe that's the invitation. For people to practice it. Like, try it for the next 3 months or the next 6 months or the next year and see what kind of impact it has on your life. Because that's it, in my opinion. That's it. It's more about us being open. I think the quote, and I'm not great at quotes, but the quote is, you can't solve a problem at the same level of consciousness with which it was created. Exactly. So we need to go like this, for not only for our own evolution, for our society, for globally, for the environment, for all of these challenges that we have coming up, to open to this greater intelligence and this greater wisdom to be able to help with the healing of it. I definitely, and I know many of us in New Thought, hold the vision of a world that works for everyone. And so for me, I feel so blessed in this life that I've lived. And I want to pass that on. I want to pass that on to the next generation, next generations. And the hope is that life, not less of an amazing, not more of a sometimes the normal social kind of construct, hell in a handbasket, as it were. I see, and the truth that I want to support, and then I want to be a part of this. How do we create this better world for the future? So there's more possible beauty. So there's more health and more resources, not less, that we're not taking away, but we're giving to. So I love this practice. And I'd love to just wrap it up today. Thank you for time with us, but I'd love to wrap it up with this closing question of the look like in the 21st century.
For masculinity looking like just tapping in this moment, trusting what's available and coming through, higher wisdom self, that unified. I see healthy masculinity as men being willing to and encouraged to be vulnerable in their vulnerability, finding strength in their humility, and in so doing, opening and allowing and being universal consciousness, and coming from a place of unity and oneness and love, or even overcomes that each man is in tune with the love intelligence that created him, and embodies that and acts from that place of unified consciousness, that acts from that place of love, that acts from that place of wholeness, and to secure in who he is and how he shows up and how he impacts the world.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful, Jeff. Yeah. Yeah, that's where we're headed.
And we already are there.
Yeah, and we're there.
It's just a matter of revealing it.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the obstacles, the releasing, the letting go, and embracing who we truly are and fully embodying it.
Yeah.
It's the work of visioning.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time. We just honor you for sharing this amazing process with us that you have kind of helped refine and understand and deepen, not only in our community, but for us as individuals, and how important it is to really just open to this possibility. And I'm excited. This is a part of a sort of 3 different parts. Reverend Dan Granda is doing his video is on values. Mm-hmm. And so that'll go after this one's. We're going to start with this one, then Dan with values, and then Dennis Merritt Jones on purpose. Mm-hmm. And so how kind of we take all of these things together and create our sense of purpose and meaning, our mission, our vision, our that thing that gets us out of bed in the morning, like, yes, instead of like, oh, hit the snooze button, but gets us excited about life and not only what we're here as a human being to do, but what kind of our soul is here to do on some level. And understanding that in a deeper way so that we can align with it, so that we can show up as our greatest, most brilliant, most luminous self for the world. So thank you for supporting this. Thank you for you. I also do want to mention Jeff is offering a course beginning in October on this discernment process, so that if you want to help bring yourself into alignment with your vision, you can go to his website. It's jeffryan.online. And you can also follow him on social media at that same thing, jeffryan.online. So for more info, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank everyone for being here with us in this conversation. And as usual, there is always more to come.
Thanks, Eamon.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this interview from the New Thought Men's podcast. For instant access to all podcast interviews, talks from our summit, men's groups, and so much more, join us at newthoughtmens.community. Thanks so much for being with us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.